Hello guys, it's Corporal Kira and back with you, and today you'll finally see the final episode of Amber. So let's continue with no more words. Let's roll. Back hunched, looking haggard, eyes more lifeless than ever, she was crying. Her clothes were crumpled, and she had neither coat nor scarf, and there were scratches on her hands and arms, as if she had been in a fight. Did she roll on the floor? Did she harm herself? Regardless, she must most likely gotten hurt while running away. The park was completely deserted, and she seemed to have been there for a while. Damn it! Uh, She must have run away hours ago, probably since the early afternoon, otherwise she wouldn't have been in a state where she would be able to cry. She would have been motionless like a doll, unable to show the slightest sign of life, until finally she'd come back to her senses. For a second, Tristan Mallory was tempted to leave her here, to leave her in her fate. But he gave himself a mental slap. He couldn't leave her like that. She was his wife. He loved her. He had to take care of her, no matter what. But even so, sometimes he almost wished she would get lost for good, that she'd disappear, so he wouldn't have to live through this endless circle again. His conscience protested that he would feel too guilty, that he wouldn't be able to forgive himself. There was no way out. He had to live with this burden. So he placed himself in front of her, and in a soft voice he asked, "Is something wrong?" His wife first seemed not to hear him. She was choking her sobs, hiccuping, shaking with spasms. He was now sure of it. She had forgotten everything once again. Patiently, Tristan Mallory stroked her hair and repeated, "Why are you crying? What happened?" It took long minutes for her to calm down, even a little, but finally, with a faint voice disturbed by sobs, she answered while drying her tears, "I don't know. I think I've lost something important, really important, but I can't remember what it was." Tristan Mallory sighed, feeling a mixture of compassion and pity. Always that nagging obsession, that curse. She seemed so lost, so vulnerable. He wanted to hold her so tightly, her sadness, that her sadness. Yeah, I remember I read wrong the first time too, but later on I understood how it was supposed to be read. But that first time I made a mistake again today. Well, let's read it now properly. He wanted to hold her so tightly, her sadness. No wait, her so tightly, her sadness. Right, like he wanted to hold her sadness so tightly that her sadness melted away, and at the same time, within him, a voice was telling him that he shouldn't be too forceful. He shouldn't take advantage of her weakness. Amber didn't recognize him anymore in the end. He would have to wait, even if the desire to ease his own loneliness was suffocating. The woman he loved was there, in front of him, and he couldn't do so much as touch her. So he tried not to lose face, to appear reassuring, but face to face with that mournful little girl, he was having a hard time. "Are you all alone? Where are Mommy and Daddy?" "I don't know." "Do you live far away from here?" "I don't know." "What's your name?" Amber. Well, Amber, you can't stay like out here in the wind. Okay, like slang version, fine. Well, Amber, you can't stay. Shit, steak. Why steak? Damn it, I'm not that hungry. Well, Amber, you can't stay like out here in the wind. You're gonna catch a cold, and you don't want to get sick, do you? No, I hate being sick. See? You've got to go warm yourself up somewhere. The night's getting close. But I don't know where to go. In that case, what do you think about going over to my place? It's not far away from here and it'll make a much better sleeping place than the swing. Amber seemed worried, but she had no other way but to follow him. He gently extended his hand, and for the first time, she lifted her eyes. Damn, this this episode is going very long. They were washed out, blurry with tears, and hesitant. You know, I think that if the episode just suddenly stops at some point, then don't mind that. Don't worry about that. This part would already be the continuation of that one, because it's taken me quite a long time to read it down fully, but it's so interesting, I just couldn't stop, so okay, let's continue it. They were the eyes of a little girl stuck in a woman's body, the eyes of a woman haunted by her little obsession, the eyes of a trapped person. He thought it a good idea to show her a smiling face, to give himself a protecting role. Even with the fatigue, he cut her fine and frail hand and helped her get to her feet. Whoa. Well, she looks messed up. The young lady's steps were wobbly, weak. She had probably not eaten all day long. Carefully, he guided her to his home, making sure she wouldn't trip. The 30-year-old man took off his coat and shut the door behind him. Make yourself at home. I'll cook you something. Passing through the kitchen, he turned on the lights in the living room so his flat would look less gloomy. While roaming through the fridge looking for a good meal idea, he stole glances over the counter regularly. In the living room, Amber was still walking around a bit wild, still on the defensive. She explored the new environment by looking around, admiring the ornaments. She didn't find much to pique her interesting. It was a blonde house, almost too blonde. There were no clues about his occupants' lives. The pictures of their happy days were carefully hidden. Taking advantage of Tristan's being distracted by a packet of noodles, she escaped to the hallway and tried to find the bathroom. She found quickly enough before returning to the hallway. Then she noticed that all the doors were wide open except for one. She was drawn to that doorway even before she had time to think. Intrigued, Amber felt magnetically attracted to the slightly open door. Just one peek was all she wanted, but she couldn't see anything through the crack. Was this Bluebeard's cabinet? A frightened Tom where Tristan Mallory stored the corpse of his former wife? Well, at some point, she's quite right. The little girl pushed the door open, entered the room, and switched the light on. In the kitchen, Tristan sighed. He was cooking Amber's favorite meal, but his eyes were too itchy. Shoulders flying. He noticed his wife's absence. She must have found her room, he grunted. His hands were mechanically preparing the meal, but his mind was elsewhere. Little by little, he slowed down until he stopped completely. Still as a robot, he leaned against the wall. God, what have I done to deserve this? When will this be coming? When will she be coming back? When is she going to wake up? His face in his hands, he cried silently in the empty living room. Will my tears reach you one day? When he felt better, he headed towards the forbidden room and caught Amber playing with stuffed animals. He gazed softly without a word when he sat next to her. On the bed, the little girl moved the stuffed animals' hands while making them speak. In her weak voice, she mimed a stuffed animal tea party and seemed to be having a lot of fun. The light was back in her eyes. Suddenly, she got mad at the plump cow and scolded her harshly. "That's dirty. Stop it right now. You're making a mess." "Ellie, what did I just say? It's dirty. You've got to behave yourself. And don't roll on the floor. You shouldn't make a fuss just because you didn't get what you wanted." As punishment, she sent the cow in a corner, ordering her not to move before replacing her with a pony with long eyelashes. The stuffed animal tea party, hosted by a blue monkey, was obviously not going as planned. The 30-year-old man eyed the little girl's every move with care. She finally noticed his presence. That uninterested Mallory admired Amber as she wolfed down her food. He felt half assumed, half distracted. Seeing her so happy soothed his heart a little, but at the same time, it was heartbreaking. He remembered the blissful days already long gone. It wasn't easy, but he still remembered them. The beautiful young lady had her adorable smile, her cheerfulness, her promises. Comforted by Amber's overflowing enthusiasm, Sister Mallory couldn't help but smile faintly, almost pitifully. "Yes, that's it indeed," he kept telling himself, as if to reassure himself. "All I'm doing is keeping her around until she remembers who she is, and what she's lost." That makes more sense now too. Waiting for her to remember, if she ever managed to someday. Tristan Mallory could have been an ordinary man with an ordinary life, with everything if everything hadn't changed so drastically a few years ago due to the consequence of a drive event. Since that day, he was stuck in that infernal circle, a struggler that seemed never ending. He had been so happy, fulfilled with the woman he loved, the woman he had married. Amber, the charming woman he had sworn his life to had gone mad. He had never realized how obsessed he was about having kids until their doctor told them that she was sterile. A seemingly overcomable situation, but to her it was as if she had been dealt the death penalty. They could have put themselves in the hands of science, or just have given up on the project altogether and create a new one. But they could have been satisfied within their everyday life. But she couldn't give up the idea. Amber wasn't willing to let her little girl's dream to go, or to change a word of the promised fairy tale. It was a must. It had to go that way, that only way. So the pressure she put on herself and had the better of her. She couldn't be perfect. She couldn't perfectly I'm sorry, guys. She couldn't perfectly confirm herself to the absurd norm imposed to her. Something in her head struck like a fragile thread, and she had an emotional breakdown. Under the husband Tristan's bewildered eyes, she sunk insanely quick in a madness as sudden as it was violent, and from which she would return. Refusing to face reality, she escaped in a long dream, a long nightmare, where she became out of reach. Emperor reverted to childhood, where everything was easier, where everything was still possible. She didn't recognize her husband anymore, or didn't she recognize him, or didn't want to recognize him. He had to pretend not to know her each time he got each time and get closer to her each time, until she had a new breakdown and everything would be reset again. He had to make her happy and help her get better each time, even if it meant bending to her every will, even if it would meant living in a world of and even if it meant requiring love on his part. During the cycle, once more intrigued, Emperor took advantage of his absence to open a drawer she had never touched before. She found the key in her guardian's room. Inside the drawer was a big leather notebook. Surely she had found a treasure. She took it and opened it. It was a photo album. Spread on the pages were bright smiles and tender gestures. Browsing the pictures, the little girl discovered her guardians young and fresh, in the arms of a coquettish young lady, dressed superbly and tastefully. She was strong on the seashore, soft on the shoulders, or she was in a park holding an ice cream. But what caught her eye was a very particular picture, towering in the middle of one page. Tristan, wearing a suit, was leading his lover out of a church with clumsy footsteps under a shower of flower petals. She looked so happy, so fulfilled in her big and refined white dress that Amber was stop-filled. Even more so because the bride looked exactly like her. She's so pretty. What are you looking at? Tristan's sudden appearance made her jump so quickly that she dropped the forbidden object. 30-year-old man's gaze sobered immediately. You searched through the closet to see what my wife looked like, didn't you? She answered in a shaky voice guiltily. Yes. Are you going to scold me? Of course not. I just would have preferred you not seeing it. Why? Why don't you ever tell me about her? I want to know. He sighed, apparently upset as he looked into those begging eyes that he could never been able to resist for long. Reluctantly, he sat down on the couch and told her how he met the one he thought would be his lifelong partner, and related all that they had gone through together. Amber listened with wide-eyed attention. She liked the story very much. Tristan seemed to get younger as he evoked the past, describing how head over heels for her and had been for her he had been, and how happy she made him. Their peaceful and ordinary everyday life was something the little girl envied. Caught up in the tale, she couldn't help but pursuing him. And then what happened? Until the light shining in the man's green eyes vanished brutally. Then she got away. Where to? far away to a place I can't reach anymore. Every day I pray that she'll somehow hear me, that she'll wake up, that she'll remember me. I don't know if she'll ever emerge from that dream that's keeping her captive. Is she dead? Sometimes I sometimes it feels like it, but no, she's alive, just in a different world from mine. If I could have joined her, I would have. I would have sacrificed everything for her, and today she's forgotten me forever. That's sad. Tristan sighed again, head down, as a heavy crushed silence came between them. Could anyone imagine his suffering? Could anyone imagine what it felt like to be in his shoes? To see that your special someone couldn't recognize you anymore, and that she had forgot everything about you and your relationship. When Amber, that little girl stuck in a woman's body, asked him why he was crying, he wanted to scream. Because I love you, and we were so happy together. Because I can't live without you. Because I need you, your affection. Because I'm all alone. Because you're my wife and the woman I love. I beg of you, come back to me, get a hold of yourself, and snap out of it. But it was useless. He had tried already, tried to shake her, to talk to her like she was his wife. But if he did, she would remain terrified and stay away from him, and crying. She would tell him he shouldn't scold her. So he would give up. He stopped trying to get his role back. He kept pretending, and his suffering got worse day after day, like a slight disease trying to consume him further. Fake a smile, forget about yourself, don't think about anything other than reassuring her. How could one go on like that without worn out? Tristan Mallory was no Superman. He was often on the verge of losing it. He despaired to remark on progress and had no hope of healing. Would Amber ever return to normal? He didn't believe it anymore. One evening, when he was feeling more tense than usual, he dared to yell at a young lady who was doing her best to appear attractive. He immediately regretted, but the deed was done. Amber's voice was trembling dangerously. Getting close, he noticed her frenetically shaking hands, eyes wide open, soaked in tears. She exploded. I'm sorry. I want you to love me. I want you to look at me. Why don't you ever look at me? Am I not good enough? Is that it? I'll never be as good as she was, will I? But Amber, who are we talking about? Dumbfounded, Tristan held her in his arms tightly as he could. No, he definitely couldn't understand. He couldn't understand such intense and sudden sobs. He only loved a person in this world. Only one. How could she believe for a second that she had been beaten by someone else? Reassured by the gesture, Amber wanted to explain herself. Your wife, I can see her departure left you very sad. I wanted to bring a smile back to your face. I wanted to take her place so you'd forget about her. For a split second, Tristan Mallory was breathless. It was surreal. He would have pinched himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming, but no. The pain in his chest was far too real, too pitiful, carved to him. Amber, locked up in her little girl's dream, was becoming jealous of herself. She was trying to surpass her happy alter ego of the past. She was trying to remove herself from her husband's memory as if to rewrite the past, like some form of unconscious suicide. How could he answer such a declaration? How could he find the right words? Catching his breath with difficulty, the 30-year-old man took Amber by the shoulders and looked into her eyes for a long time. He had to wake her up. He had to make her realize. He had to think of a way to tell her. After a sigh, he affirmed, Listen, I'll never be able to forget my wife, alright? It's impossible. But that doesn't mean I don't want you, like that opposite, actually. You're very dear to me, Amber. Do you hear me? I need you. You already have her place. So please stop crying. Don't make it harder than this. The young girl slyly shyly dried the tears, and her featured changes to an adorably naive expression. She looked sincerely despaired. Oh my god, this is going for more than 1 hour. Man, I really think that it's gonna be 2 more episodes. That this episode will just split somewhere at a good place and then continue a bit later. You're okay with me? What made you think I'd abandon you, huh? Nothing, it's just that you seem to love her so much. I'm a bit jealous. Why is that? I don't know. When I look at those pictures, I can't help but tell myself I must absolutely make you happy. I think I love you. Tristan felt all the courage and determination he had worked up melting, and he started sobbing as well. Did you recognize him just a little? Was that a sign from her subconscious? Did she begin to get a grip on herself? But I love you too. It's always been like that. I love you so much, it makes me sick. For real? You're not treating me like a kid? Of course not. Then prove it. How should I? Show me you love me like a man loves a woman. Amber seemed dead set on it. So Tristan slowly and softly kissed her lips. The warm and pleasurable feeling went to his head. Uh, for a few seconds he felt as if he was holding his wife in his arms. He thought she had really come back. The dilated vanilla scent skin, the delicate vanilla scent skin, I'm sorry, remind him of happy days, long afternoons spent in the sun, of laughter, of peaceful evenings under the light of the stars, or by a fire, or beneath the shared umbrella in a storm. She was here, so close, so far away, within a finger's reach. He only had to close his eyes and believe in this dream. The illusion smiled faintly at him, and at his limit he embraced her. If you only knew how much I love you. He had so many things he wished to tell her, so many that the words got stuck in his throat, unable to escape. So since he lacked the words to make her understand them, that was what he was feeling. He used his body. As dawn's rays of light crept through the window, Amber was profoundly asleep, lying atop Tristan's still lukewarm body. Eyes surrounded by dark circles, the weight of regrets, a fatigue he couldn't get rid of. He stared at her with a sad smile on his face. It was only a dream, right? When you wake up, you'll be a kid again, right? The only answer he got was a light groan, softened by such a serene face. He left a kiss on her pressed cheeks. As soon as he did, the sleeping lips spread to form a happy smile. I wonder what you're dreaming about. Say, wouldn't you invite me over there? I got really so tired of reading the same thing now. Whew. Tristan Mallory was tired of that infernal circle that broiled his prayers in a permanent cacophony. Once more, to please her, he mimicked a fake wedding ceremony without telling her it was a fake joy. Never again would the fresh and innocent smile of the pictures return. The masquerade dragged on until the final act. Amber asked to have kids again, and her discovering the truth one way or another would invariably make her go mad, since her obsession was so strong. To counter the numerous relapsed 30-year-old men often went to the hospital with his life to discuss his psychiatrist in charge of her and to discuss the eventual progress. I get so tired of reading. I'm sorry, guys. Oh god. Okay. Doctor. So Tristan, how's Amber lately? Did she get a little better? Still nothing. The doctor frowned, but it was a compassionate expression. He was in charge of the Mallory case for some years by now, and he felt particularly powerless in front of such avoidance on the part of the young lady. He had tried it all without success. You never know. Is that why you've called me, Doctor? He took a pen and played nervously. Oh, he took a pen and played with nervously while staring at Tristan. No, to be honest, I knew Amber would relapse again. One of my colleagues went to talk with me the other day. One of my colleagues went to talk with me the other day. Yeah, I read it right. God damn it. Apparently, your wife went to the hospital and did the usual. She ran to an intern that didn't know how to deal with the situation. I often explain her case to the newbies, but within theory and practice, you know. The poor boy tried his best. He told her the truth while trying to sugarcoat it, to make her reflect on it. He had another angst crisis, of course. She had another angst crisis, of course. By the time he told her to sit down to call for me, she was already gone. If it had been me, I would have tried to buy some time. Anyway, what's done is done. There's no need to apologize, Doctor. It's not your fault. You know as well as I do that she often has breakdowns, and lying to her about it doesn't do any good. Even so, I booked today's appointment so I could check on how you're faring and how she'd be since that unfortunate incident with my colleague. Nothing changed. The doctor sighed. He stuck the pen in his coat pocket. Nervously scratching his beard, he murmured in an understanding tone. Really, I'm impressed. I don't know how you can manage to get by like this, Tristan. In your place, I wouldn't be able to cope. But I still have to keep you tracked too. You never know. You're not safe from having a breakdown just like her. I totally understand, Doctor. You know, every cycle I try to do things differently, but in the end I'm tired, worn out, and I've lost all hope. Do all that I can do for her to make her as happy as possible during that golden time where she's living a perfect childhood. All that's left of that woman I love is shadow, so I hope she'll find rest someday. The two men were contemplating Amber, who was far away in the hospital's hallway playing like a little girl. Suddenly, Tristan broke the silence, his voice trembling. Sometimes I wonder if she is ever going to get out of that prison she built around herself to avoid suffering. Will she accept the face the outside world, or is she going to live in that eternal golden dream where everything's perfect forever? I wish I could promise you she will, that she'll wake up from that long nightmare. But something inside of me thinks she's never going to question her obsession. Which is an immense waste. Because of that, she's forsaken herself from a life that could have been wonderful. Meanwhile, Amber Mallory was cheerfully talking to what she thought to be another little girl of her age. In fact, the young lady was madly talking to her reflection in the mirror with dead eyes, still stuck in that never-ending dream, free of hardships. You know what? I've got someone I love. Yes, for real. I'm even soon going to marry him. And we'll be happy until the end of time and have lots of kids, just like in fairy tales. How could it be any other way? You're right. Every day will be a feast. Okay. If only I didn't have that strange feeling. I think I've lost something important. Really important. But I can't remember what it was. The end. Oh my god, that was a long story, but it was so cool. Really, you gotta admit, the story it's just fascinating. How it all turns out that, oh my god, it's so really. At first, I thought this was a sad story, but in the end, it turned out to be an even sadder story. Just try to imagine living like that. Like the person you love is near you, loves you back to a certain point, then and nothing. He's still with you, but you don't have the love. You don't even have the person. You just have his body near next to you. It's very sad story, but just wonderful, really. I liked it so much that really, if some of you watch this, download this game, play it. So, I don't like help out the. Oh my god, I can't talk. I can't even think. Sorry, guys. I've been reading this for about 1.5 hours. Oh my god. My throat is getting a bit sore now. Well, really, if you can, if you know how, support uh, support the person that done this, that created this. Really, I really appreciate this game. I really hope a lot of people would play it and that a lot of people would like it, because these games, they like help to show people how the life could actually be, how everything could just happen, what situations can be in life. And after playing such games, there are also movies like this with the same idea. And after watching the movies, playing the games, just thinking that, well, how is this? Uh, how would you be able to deal with it? What would you do? Would it be even possible for you to hold it up like this? It's a fascinating story. I loved it very much. It touched me to the heart, and I mean that. If you guys love touching stories, so if anyone would be watching this, and if that someone likes touching stories like this, then I advise for you like, oh, also it's actually an anime, but from Key Animation called Clannad or Clan. Well, it's CLANNAD. It's an anime, yes. It has been dubbed into English, very good English, I must say, as mostly all Key Animations, and all the Key Animation. I'm sorry for repeating it so much, but they're all even more attached to this story. This is like a psychological story that just show you the pressure what a person's mind can handle for another person, for the person that you love. The Clannad is also about a loss and found, and also tragedy, love. And our Clannad has 2 seasons. First season is, well, like the beginning of Amber, like my first video. It's well, it's just like a regular story of love, how it all started up in high school and of the last year, how there were also a lot of worries, of fears, and also a lot of love, and it turned out great. The second season, which is called After Story, has the events of the last video that I've done. Well, I don't know, maybe it'll be the previous video for you. I still haven't decided will I part this episode or not, the last episode. Well, when Amber and Tristan decided to get married again, like that was something strange and weird, something was going on. And After Story at the beginning also is the same. Like I didn't quite understand like what was that quite before, but it was still a nice continuation for the story as how their life was going through. And then also such shocking events that I admit it did make me cry. And Amber just reminded me of it, of Clannad, of all Key Animation. They all are so great, and really, I'd advise you guys just, if you like don't want to just think about it. Think about how would you take your life? How would you be able to surpass certain obstacles? And even if you have a good life, living in happiness, that really, I'm not saying that everything can crash in a second. No, I just telling you that try to at least think about it. Just don't throw away those thoughts fully, because if something bad really does happen, believe me, it would be better for you to be prepared. I'm sorry. I mean it, and it's from my own life, my own experience. I can tell you that it's better to be prepared. So at least just if you thought it in your mind. Well, anyway, this game was just unbelievably great. I loved the story, really. The end, so touching, just perfect. Well, as I've said in a video, I know, yeah, I believe that will be posted earlier than this one. So I will make like a video of my talking of my suggestions, like I did just now, of just live events, something like more serious themes than just gaming and being an idiot. Well, I'm really looking forward to that, to just talk to try to at least help people, at least to if somebody would watch it, to well calm them down if something did happen. That well, this is life and this is what we have. Tristan is living with it. He truly believes in the good and happiness, and he holds for it, and I respect that very much. That's a person that really could be counted a saint. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for being with me. This was Corporal Kira, dismissed.